How lovely are your branches. Good morning. December 22nd, almost Christmas. It's Sunday before at 7:39 in the morning here in Western Iowa, 25 degrees. How you doing? Are you dreaming of a white Christmas? Well, in Texas, Channel 4 is saying dream on. Your white Christmas forecast is no chance and then no chance in blue. I've been seeing a lot of those, many states weighing in. But many states will see a white Christmas. We'll go over that again before we're done. And this morning, here are your current temperatures, and it's cold in the southeast, 20s, all the way down to the Gulf Coast and the Florida Panhandle, and also deep into Louisiana. So these freeze warnings that are in effect down here are definitely coming true. And cold all the way up the East Coast, single digits up there in New England, upstate New York, up into Maine. And we do have teens and 20s across the northern plains and the Midwest, but 40s and 50s even in Texas, 40s and 50s going up the West Coast, 40s for the Northwest, but cooler inland, 31 for you, Boise. And yeah, that's how we're starting out the day. And that's a little bit warmer than it was this time yesterday in the plains, and especially the upper Midwest, excuse me. But cooler than it was this time yesterday from the southeast all the way up the East Coast, especially up there in Michigan all the way over to New England. Slightly cooler than it was this time yesterday for the Pacific Northwest. This morning's hazards. There's your freeze warning down in Georgia into Florida, and there's your winter weather advisory. So be advised, winter weather coming your way, Montana into North Dakota. A little bit of fog there in eastern Oregon. Some wind issues along the coast, Washington, Northern California, Southern Oregon. And we're still got that high wind watch there for parts of Wyoming, a windy place anyway. Your next 48 hours for precipitation. We're looking at breaking out there in Oklahoma into Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, even along the coast of Florida up through South Carolina. And a lot of rain in the Pacific Northwest. Where will that fall as snow? Well, way up there in the high elevation. So this is mostly rain up there in the Pacific Northwest. And we're talking 2.5, 3 inches of rain, Northern California into Southern Oregon. That's pretty massive. But some snow up there in the mountains, especially when you get inland Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and down into Colorado. And then up there in Michigan, off the eastern Great Lakes into New England, a lot of this will stick around until Christmas. So these places are likely to have a white Christmas. Surface for today, there's your Pacific Northwest mess. With heavy snows up there, though, in the Cascades of Washington, also into eastern Oregon. Could be freezing rain up there, Montana, North Dakota, into Michigan. And that's your snow for the Great Lakes and especially eastern Great Lakes. A little patch of snow, Wyoming, Colorado. Some rain down there in Florida. Anomalous temperatures, above average temperatures for the western 2/3 of the country, staying below and even well below for the East Coast today. For tomorrow, more rain, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, changing over to a mix with even some freezing rain, Indiana into Michigan. Some snow up there in New England, rain along the southeast coast, up into the mid-Atlantic and the Pacific Northwest. It's just wet with a few snowflakes thrown in for you. Anomalous temperatures, those above average temperatures are going further to the east, pushing that cooler air out, but still well below average, mid-Atlantic through New England, and even still slightly below average for the southeast. Everyone else above average. The surface for Tuesday, more rain moving into the southeast out of Texas, southern plains too. We still have that patch of freezing rain, Indiana, Michigan, maybe South Bend, Indiana, for example. Mixture of rain and snow for the northeast, but that's all snow, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. And then the Pacific Northwest, that rain is spreading all the way into Southern California and northern Arizona, which Arizona hadn't seen rain in a while, so they'll take that. Maybe a little heavy snow there in eastern Oregon. Anomalous temperatures Tuesday, everybody above average except North Carolina, South Carolina, a little bit of Virginia, a little bit of the Northeast, just barely below average, but it's just warm everywhere by Christmas Eve day. Let's take a look at the European today as we start at 6 o'clock this morning. And we have the cold air, the blue lines here, still through the mid-Atlantic. Here's your coldest air into the Great Lakes and the Northeast. That's where some of that snow is going to come down. And we have another system approaching in the Pacific Northwest, which let's watch it unfold today. This is noon Central Time. And as we get into the afternoon, you see the rain and snow advancing into the northwest. That's rain, lower elevations, Idaho, snow in the mountains, little patch of snow up here in North Dakota as we get into this afternoon and evening. This is midnight tonight. As we get into Monday now, rain and snow, Idaho, again, depending on elevation, a little bit of light snow up here in Michigan, Wisconsin, but otherwise kind of quiet. We see some of that warm air returning into the Midwest as we go through the day on Monday. Getting clipped by some of the cooler air here in northern Iowa. So it's going to be warm here in Iowa, western Iowa. We're going to cool off a little bit Monday, but it's still going to be above freezing, still above average. We see more snow into Michigan as we get into Monday. This is noontime central. And then we see more snow spreading into the eastern Great Lakes and into the Northeast with rain trailing back through Oklahoma and another storm moving into the Pacific Northwest as we get into Tuesday. This is Tuesday morning, Christmas Eve day. Snow in New England. I think you're going to have a white Christmas. Rain in the Northwest and heavy rain in Northern California. I think most of you are not going to have a white Christmas except in the mountains maybe. As we get through Christmas Eve day, we see more thunderstorms breaking out on Tuesday. Some of these could be severe here in Texas. Rain moving into Arkansas, Oklahoma, and southern Missouri. That rain and snow moves inland. It does get a little bit cooler inland. We start to see snow coming back as the snow levels start to drop now in Northern California. We're still Christmas Eve in the evening. So Christmas evening, we see rain and snow for Idaho. It still looks like it's staying rain in Boise. I checked your local forecast, Boise, and they're calling for rain Christmas Eve, even though a low of 31, maybe some snowflakes mixed in. So your chances of waking up to snow on the ground, I'm not going to say are zero, but they're not good. All right, thunderstorms here around Houston, moving up through Arkansas. And this is still Christmas Eve night. In fact, here's Santa time. So a little bit of rain still, some heavy rain, maybe for the Texas Gulf Coast and into Louisiana, Arkansas. And then a little bit of snow, light snow here in Utah, back into Nevada and Idaho. And as we get into Christmas Day, we do see some rain hanging on here in Arkansas into Missouri and Illinois. We do see some snow coming down in Utah and parts of Colorado and Wyoming. So that's nice Christmas morning. As we get into noontime, Christmas, Central Time, some rain in the center of the country. Look at this big storm approaching the Pacific Northwest Christmas Day. And those winds increasing along the coast and the rain increasing along the coast and snow in the mountains. This is the Christmas Day night, or evening, I should say. Snow in central Colorado. Rain all the way into Michigan. And then as we go through the day, Christmas, this is midnight. So lots of rain, Pacific Northwest, lots of wind along the coast, even into Northern California. Some snow up here in eastern Washington. A little bit of snow for parts of, well, that's mostly the Canadian side of the eastern Great Lakes, but a little bit into New York and spotty showers across the east. We'll go a little bit faster now as we go through the day after Christmas. Rain and snow, Idaho, rain along the coast. Some more significant showers for Oklahoma and East Texas, and a little bit of rain east central, a little bit of snow up in the northeast. This low with some thunderstorms. It could be some severe weather here as that colder air crashes into the warmer air. And if there's Gulf moisture available, yeah, we might see some severe storms. We're seeing more snow here in the Four Corners as we get into Friday. Still heavy rain on the Oregon coast. And then a few thunderstorms down here in South Florida. A little bit of snow up here in New England. Is that a song? Weekend in New England. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. We got some rain moving into Missouri, into Iowa. Rain in Iowa on Friday the 27th. Snow in the Rockies, rain and snow northwest. More thunderstorms, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama. Moving further east. More rain for Iowa on the 28th. Rain and snow for the northwest. And then big showers, big doings here in the southeast all the way up into Ohio on Sunday the 29th. So we're getting out there a little bit with the forecast. But I want to show you our chance of snow here in western Iowa. Look at that. Look at this, New Year's Eve. This is New Year's Eve morning. Snowing in Nebraska, South Dakota, into Minnesota. Rain further south into Kansas, Missouri, but changing to snow in western Iowa. Again, this is noontime, New Year's Eve day. So will we see snow finally hanging in there till New Year's Eve? This is midnight. Happy New Year. A little bit of snow falling down if this comes true. Also up here in the Great Lakes. So that's really what I wanted to show you. And if I go really fast, first of all, you see the cold air invading as we get into January. And there's another chance of snow here in Iowa around the 4th. And that looks to be a pretty big storm. We'll just see exactly where it goes. All right, let's go through our highs and lows for the week. Here's your 7-day forecast temperature-wise. Highs today, warming up in the plains, in the Midwest, hanging on to the cold in the Northeast, chilly in the Southeast, seasonable in the west, and warm desert Southwest. Lows tomorrow morning, still freezing most of the Southeast, and very cold in the Mid-Atlantic, especially in the Northeast, where single digits remain tomorrow morning. And the extreme northern plains, upper Midwest, still cold. But those warm temperatures above freezing sneaking all the way into southeastern Iowa. Wow. Highs tomorrow, a little bit cooler than today, upper Midwest, but still above average. And New England is starting to moderate a little bit. And warmer temperatures returning to the south, although the chilly weather still hanging on in Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and then 70s for highs in Phoenix and Tucson. Tuesday, so here's tomorrow, here's Tuesday, a little bit cooler in the Midwest, but, again, above average pretty much everywhere now. We get into Christmas Day, and so we're talking 60s across the South, with some 50s a little further north in the South, like Tennessee, northern Georgia, and then 40s up here, even in the Midwest. You have to go all the way into northern Minnesota to get below freezing, and up there in the Northeast, 40s and 50s along the West Coast, and 43 for a high for you, Boise, Thursday, staying in the low 40s, Boise, 50s along the coast, 60s, is that what? 60s for southern Arizona, getting colder in the west. But getting warmer in the east. And then Friday, we see those warm temperatures pushing all the way into the Great Lakes with 50 degrees for Chicago. Wow, for Friday. 40s hanging on here in Iowa. Saturday, still very warm up into the Midwest. The Southeast is getting warmer still. Even 40s now into New England. Even parts of Maine. So very warm forecast through the rest of the week before we get cold in January, which is our 3-week projection. But our 8 to 14 day temperatures are looking awfully warm pretty much everywhere, above average. Chances of above average temperatures. Precipitation wise, good chance of above average precipitation along the northern half of the lower 48 and the lower half of Alaska. And then we get to our white Christmas forecast. Here's the European ensemble, pretty similar to yesterday. White Christmas, North Dakota, parts of South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, northern Pennsylvania, New York, a little bit of New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and then certainly Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. And then mountains in the west. Canadian, about the same, a little bit more of Pennsylvania on the Canadian and a little bit less snow as you head into the west, the mountains of the west, and the GFS kind of splits the difference. And so that's your best chances for a white Christmas still, and we still have a few more days to go. So we definitely will keep you posted. I really do appreciate you tuning in on a Sunday. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll update you again tomorrow right here on the Weather Mic.